the time for the fight of your life. The time to focus on all of your worries and strife. If you fall to now, then you surely die. Time for you to join the angels and fly. Waves of darkness try to shut down your eyes. They overwhelm you with the hate of nothing but lies. Heed these words as your journey begins. With courage in your heart, it will be the key for you to win. Know that if you don't get stronger.
Hello and welcome back to Kingdom Review 0 EXP. I'm your host, Future Keybearer. So, much like with 358, I knew Recoded was going to be an interesting challenge. Because unlike 358's panel board, Coded's stat matrix isn't giving me room to compensate for my lack of level chips. In fact, without them, I'm missing out on a few good abilities. Upon starting the game up, I did what I've never done before and picked the staff over the sword. Look, after what happened in KH1, I wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. And this was actually really helpful, as choosing the staff starts you off with a cure command, among other things. But not too much later, I ran into a problem. After the first combat segment, the game forces a tutorial for the stat matrix by having you place a chip into it. And the only chip you're going to have is a level chip. Double and, you can't just take it back out. So it seemed as though a true level 1 run of this game was impossible. Fortunately, however, I kept playing and found a stat chip. Now, the stat matrix may not let you just remove the chips that you placed, but you can swap them out for another one. And since I hadn't seen any combat since placing that level chip, I'm counting it as only being level 1. The rest of Destiny Islands, Traverse Town, and Wonderland went off pretty unremarkably. Then I got to Olympus Coliseum and realized something horrifying. See, the entirety of this world is turn-based combat. Now, you might be wondering why that matters. Well, here's the thing. The only reason 0 EXP is even possible to do in KH is because of the game's real-time combat. That makes it possible to do fights taking minimal damage or even no damage, and even if you do, you can heal without said heal getting immediately undone. And before anybody brings up, say, Pokemon Challenge videos where they play with a level 1 team, they cheat to get the ideal Pokemon right out the gate. If they had to play normally, just with all their Pokemon at level 1, they'd never make it. Anyway, just as I thought the run was dead, I was surprised that I was doing pretty well against enemies, even before adding Hercules to the party. Then I got to a little roadblock known as Cloud. I was about ready to throw in the towel when I came up with this strategy. I loaded my deck with nothing but cures and potions, and once Herc or I got down to about half health, I became a dedicated healer, letting Wonder Boy do all the damage. And that strategy worked. Until Cerberus. Okay, specifically, it did work well enough against Cerberus, but because you immediately go into the fight against Hades without healing, I just didn't have enough health to make it through. But then I remembered a mechanic of this world that I use so infrequently, I not only forgot about it until now, I forgot to even mention it in my review of this world. Licenses. Along the way through the labyrinth, you'll collect these blue D8s. You can activate them in combat to give your party temporary bonuses, such as increased strength and defense, auto-blocking, health regeneration, and even a one-time extra life. And the best part about them is A, they don't take up a turn to use, and B, you can use multiple on one turn. It didn't make the battle easy per se, but combine it with my healer strat and it was definitely possible. And no, I was not going for the extra floors. I just barely managed to beat these 5, much less 30. Agrabah for the most part was okay, until I got to Genie Jafar. So, remember how with KH1 I was afraid that by the time I got to Agrabah I'd essentially be doing a no damage run of the game? Well, it turns out I was right about that, just with the wrong game. Yeah, every one of Jafar's attacks could one-shot me. Fortunately, due to how this game handles multi-phase bosses, once I complete a phase, if I die, I can just retry starting at the next phase. Meaning I didn't have to do the entire fight in one go. Also fortunately, it seemed like this whole one-hit thing only applied to some bosses. As I moved on to Hollow Bastion, something piqued my curiosity. Since the first chunk of this world is done by controlling Donald and Goofy, I wondered if their stats were based on mine, or if they were fixed regardless of my level. Unfortunately, it was the former. This made the cage match in particular pretty fucking brutal. Riku was a pretty tough fight that I did need to seek out help for, and I found this little combo. First off, in the Treehouse System sector of Destiny Islands, one of the rewards you can claim is the Armor Bangle accessory, which gives you the ability Round Block. This makes it so that your guard now defends you from attacks coming from all around you, not just in front. Second, one of the Cave of Wonders system sectors can allow you to claim the Energy Earring, which gives you the Block Charger ability. This ability lets you charge your clock gauge by successfully blocking attacks. With these two equipped, plus the fact that most of Riku's attacks can be blocked, the fight essentially becomes a matter of blocking until you can unleash a finisher. Hollow Bastion Part 2 was a bit trickier. Honestly, Sora's strength getting sapped didn't mean a whole lot. Maleficent gave me a bit of trouble between not being able to heal and having max low health, and same goes for our old friend the Invisible here at the end of the run and gun. And the hits just keep on coming with the hardest Darkside fight in the entire KH series. Seriously, even in Zero EXP, this is the only Darkside in the series that has given me trouble. Or at least the only mandatory one, but that's a story for another day. Anyway, the Sora's Heartless fight was actually pretty simple using the same strat that I used on Riku, that I've decided to dub Clock Blocker. Fortunately, most of Castle Oblivion wasn't too bad. I'm just lucky that barely scraping by on the time trial stuff is acceptable. Then we get our final fight against Roxas. And fittingly enough, much like with the Xion boss in 358, this one I had a lot of fun with because I figured out a winning strategy on my own. And it all comes down to the one unique Keyblade in this game. 0-1. Specifically, when the clock gauge on this thing reaches level 4, it gains an ability called Targeting Scope, which makes it so that all your attacks land, including melee attacks, even if you're nowhere near the target. Basically, even if you're just swinging at air, Roxas is still taking damage from each swing. So the strat boils down to using Clock Blocker until your clock gauge hits 4. Then you can attack Roxas while maintaining a safe distance. Just make sure to break for a few seconds before your clock gauge maxes out so you can do this endlessly. So that was Recoded Zero EXP, a challenging but still very fun run. Would highly recommend it.